Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it comes from a message that I received, and it reads like this. Hello, please hide my name. I am a South African woman from Venda. I never thought that I'll end up writing something like this, but my life was messed up from the time when my husband was alive. The problem with my husband was that he used to date a lot of women. He had so many girlfriends. As for the children that he has, I really do not even know. I stopped caring a long time ago, and he loved to sleep around with these young women that were going to university. And the other thing was that my husband, even though we were married, he came to my parents and he paid everything for the bride price, but we did not have a marriage certificate. It was hell on earth with my husband. He was someone that always had secrets. He will never be at home most of the times to be with me and the kids. He will be with other women. And after my husband died, that was when all hell broke loose, because his cousin brothers, they came to fight for what belonged to me and the kids, to what I thought belonged to me and the other kids. So when my husband was alive, I was just enjoying my life. He handled everything and I handled the home. My husband, he owned trucks, big trucks, and he knew the industry very well, and he had a very good workforce, and he was always paid on time. Brokers, they never delayed payments because he had the habit of tracing those that he had scammed him of his money, and he would go. He even shot a guy in his store and he left him because he had sent a truck to Joburg for nothing, and they ended up tracking that guy and they did something bad to him. So when the money came, the money really came fast, and we really did not have any problems when my husband was still alive. All that I cared about was the money that he brought into the house and how I was able to take care of the kids. Then all of a sudden, my husband, he died. My husband died in the arms of another woman, a girlfriend. He did not die at home in the hospital, but he was with a girlfriend. So the way that he died, his relatives, they also hated me. They said that my husband, the reason as to why he was never with me most of the times, it was because I was doing something bad to him and he did not want to expose me to his relatives. So my husband died and we started fighting as a family, because my husband, he did not have any will. He did not have anything. He did not say what was supposed to happen to the trucks, because he had 10 trucks at that time when he passed away. So at the funeral, I saw that there were already people that were making some arrangements so as to collect their trucks, and we started fighting. My brothers, they were fighting on my corner, and we were able to take 2 trucks, and then we went and we put them somewhere else, and I quickly changed the ownership of those trucks, and I was able to get those 2 trucks. They would come to my house. I was staying in Toyando. That is where I grew up staying. They would come and threaten me at my house, even spitting at the gate, saying that I was going to see the ghost of my husband, because they wanted those 2 trucks that were now in Joburg. And I said to them, I am not going to give you the trucks, because this is the inheritance for my children. How am I going to survive if you take everything away from me? So at the burial site, there were 2 of his cousin brothers that were even insulting each other whilst the coffin was being put into the ground. So I think that my husband was already mad. His spirit was angry at us because of the way that we were fighting for all the assets that he had left behind. So I took the trucks. I can say that all of those trucks, those that were always moving, they suddenly stopped. We could not get the loads. It was just messed up. We could not run this business properly. The drivers, they started complaining about things that had never happened before, and I was always broke. Tires would be bursting, engines were knocking, and contracts, they just vanished. And this did not happen to me only, it also happened to my brother-in-laws. And then I had moved already to Johannesburg by that time, because I was just tired with the way that they would threaten me, because the trucks that I had gotten, I was not using them. I had parked them at this other truck stop. So they wanted to collect those trucks from me. That is why I had to move from Venda. And then I had already applied for a house, and I got a house in Johannesburg. When I came here, I did not understand the trucking business, the way that my husband understood the trucking business. And I did not know which loads were clean. I did not even know how to calculate the profit, how to calculate the fuel, the tolls. I would depend on the drivers. I had a couple of drivers that were from Zim. They were honest because they were not even robbing me. But the problem was that they did not give me clean loads. And I did not know that there was a lot of ZAMA ZAMA loads. If you have a tipper truck, you can end up carrying those ZAMA ZAMA loads, and your truck will get impounded. I did not know which brokers were connected to criminals. I did not know that when you are desperate, you end up signing contracts with brokers, those that deal with ZAMA ZAMA loads. So my driver, who was called Patrick, told me that he had heard about this other mine that was in Beckersford that was going to start moving chrome very soon. So I said, okay, it's fine. If you think that we can make some money there in Beckersford, then it's fine. I asked him several times, and I said, this mine, where is it exactly? Because they had given me an LOI, letter of intent, but I saw that the way that it was written, it was really sketchy. And when I tried to Google up the name of that mine, I could not find it on the map. So I called my driver. He was already on his way driving to that mine in Beckersford. And I said, Patrick, man, there is something that I can't understand here. I can't see the address of that mine, and the Google pin that you have sent to me, I'm seeing that it is almost in the middle of nowhere. Do you know this mine? And he was like, no, madam, don't worry, because there are a lot of drivers that I know. They go and they pick up chrome there and they transport it. It's either they take it all the way to Durban, sometimes they take it to Joburg. We just need to trust my friend, because he had this other friend who was also working for a white man. So I trusted, and I said, but a white man will never allow his truck to go and collect some stuff that is illegal. So I quickly signed the contract and I forwarded it to the broker, whom I did not know. I was just communicating with that guy over the phone on WhatsApp. We spoke and I gave him advice as well as updates that I was getting from my driver, Patrick. And the money, it was deposited to me soon after my truck had been loaded. So they gave me half of the money. What Patrick himself as a driver did not know was that this man who also had his truck going to collect chrome in Beckersford, he would always demand full payment. And what he will do is that if you gave him a full payment, then he will go and dump that chrome somewhere else, and his truck will just leave the premises. And those ZAMA ZAMAs, they will never be able to report to the police, because it will be an illegal load. That is the scam that the white guy was doing. So the drivers, they did not even know that this was what the guy was doing. All that they saw was that they would go collect the chrome in Beckersford, and somehow they would go and leave it somewhere else, thinking that there will be other ZAMA ZAMAs that would come and collect it and take it to Joburg. So my driver, he went there. There was already a problem there, that the person that had linked me up it was a person that they were looking for, who they had loaded for and dumped their chrome in the middle of the forest. So they wanted to punish that guy, but they did not know that I was no way linked to that man. I was someone that was just starting in this business, and it is very ruthless. People that are in the trucking business, they do not have a heart of a human being. There is no Ubuntu in the trucking industry. People will use you and make you to lose your asset, and no one even care. They will go home, enjoy, even go on holiday, whilst they would have given you a fake load. So I did not know that Bakersford was full of Zama Zama syndicates, stolen minerals, and the police waiting to just impound any truck or any equipment that they can find on the spot. So my truck, it started working there. My drivers were always getting paid in cash, and the loads, they were heavy. My trucks were always breaking down, but the turnaround was fast. Money started coming in again. I thought that God had answered me, but I was wrong. One morning, my phone rang. This was Patrick. He told me that he was hiding in the bushes, for he could not have himself involved in all of this because he did not even have a work permit. When he saw that there was a major roadblock a couple of kilometers ahead of him and he was already surrounded, he just pretended as if he just wanted to take a recess, park the truck, because he did not have any papers. They would always avoid all the way bridges coming into Johannesburg, and I knew about that, and I would encourage them to also travel at night as well. He just ran into the bushes and he left the truck with the keys and everything. Within a couple of minutes, I had my phone ringing again. They had gotten my phone numbers on the sticker that was on the door of the truck. It was the police. My truck had been stopped and they had searched it. It had illegal chrome. It was going to be seized. A case was opened. I remember my knees giving in, and I already had a problem with high blood pressure. I just fell to the ground and my truck was taken. You could not do anything. No amount of crying could help me. I was left with only one truck. One truck, all of a sudden, I could not get work, and all the brokers that I knew, there were these brokers that were dealing in Zama Zama loads. So I stopped even buying the things that I wanted. Life became so difficult. I had upgraded. The place where we were staying, it was at a nice place. I could not afford the bond anymore, and I had to cancel my insurance, and the children's school fees were overdue. I was drowning in debt quietly. That is when I remembered a man that is called Tobias, who was also staying there in Venda. He was my husband's friend. This was a Zimbabwean man with a fleet of trucks. He only carried cement, nothing else, for he said this is the only thing that is safe. So I approached him. He was calm. He was polite. We had a meeting in Polokwane. He had to drive from Venda, and then we met in Polokwane, and he had helped my husband too many times. I knew him, and I swallowed my pride and asked him to meet me. And when I told him everything, he did not look surprised. He said something that really chilled me to the bone. He said, I will help you the same way that your husband was helped by my uncle. I asked what he meant. He said, oh, your husband, he never told you. Your husband was being helped by my uncle back in Zim. When he told me this, I even felt dizzy. And I said, my husband, he had been going to Zim all along. And he said, yes, there were times when things will go bad in the business, when your husband will not be able to get contracts. Do you remember that there were always a time when you will just say, pack my trucks and bring my trucks to the yard when contracts were really busy? And I said, yes, this is what my husband used to do. Each and every June or July, he will call the drivers to bring the trucks, and they will park even for a month for no reason at all. So I thought that maybe he will be servicing the trucks. And he said, no, he would have gone to Zim so that he can be assisted by my uncle. I asked him straight and I said, Tobias, are you saying my husband was doing rituals? He said, oh, you never asked him. That doesn't mean that he did not do them. So he did not want to give me a direct answer. That night I kept on thinking and I saw that indeed my husband, he was a ritualist. So suddenly a lot of things made sense to me, even the way that my husband died. Just like that, to die whilst he was with a girlfriend. He did not have any sickness prior to his death. We flew to Zimbabwe, me and Tobias, and we landed in Harare, and he drove with me to Chipinge, where he came from. When we arrived there, we met an old man, and I was taken into the consultation room. I was given special treatment, even though there were other Zimbabwean people that were there. Since I was from South Africa, I was told that I was going to be given special treatment because there were people that had been at that traditional healer's house for more than 2 weeks because the queue, it was big. There were people that had their children that were mentally ill, some of them that had returned their items that they had been given by the traditional healer. The healer was then told by Tobias that I was the wife of the man, the South African man that used to come to strengthen his tracking business. I was then given a clay pot, and inside that clay pot there was a wooden carved idol. It was ugly and its mouth was open like it was a child waiting for the mother to breastfeed it. He was then telling me the things that I was supposed to do every month. When I was on my period, I was supposed to feed that idol, which is a tokoloshi, my period blood. And he said to me, but you do not start with your period blood. You start with animal blood first, and then after that you can start to feed it with your normal period blood. And I said, okay, fair enough. I was then told that if I fail to give it my period blood, then madness will take over me. I wanted to run, but Tobias told me my husband had accepted the same terms. That is why he slept with so many women, because he was using them for rituals. I took the clay pot, but we did not come back to South Africa by plane. We had to drive from Harare, and we came back and we rested in Venda, and I came to Johannesburg. So at first I started using animal blood, chickens. I would go to Venda, slaughter a goat, and then return back to Joburg. My truck got work at SA breweries. That was where I got a contract, money returned, and I was now dealing with legit people. But this tokoloshi, it always wanted more, and I was able to go and get 3 more trucks on finance, and I got more contracts, and I started pushing heavy haulage. Life returned back to normal. So I then stopped going on my periods. I really do not know what happened, but I waited for my period to come, 1 month, 2nd month, and then the tokoloshi appeared to me when I was driving just past Mudimule going to Venda. I had this other SUV that I always drove. It was an Audi Q7, and when I looked at the back seat, I saw that there was a tokoloshi, a little wooden man that could talk to me, that was sitting behind me. I nearly caused an accident because I panicked. I did not even expect this to happen. And it told me that since I was unable to give it my period blood, I had to give it the blood of my daughter. And it instructed me as to what I was supposed to do. So each and every month, when my daughter would be on her period, I would look through the refuse bin and collect sanitary pads, put them in a little bit of water, and then I will take the blood and I would give it to the tokoloshi. Life continued as normal. My daughter, she became weak. She was always fainting. She was at university at that time. We'll take her to the doctors, and she knew that there was something that was happening. She then started going to church, and when she returned back home crying, I knew that all hell was about to break loose. She said, Mom, they prayed for me at church. They said someone is using my period blood. I felt as if I had been exposed. I rushed back to Chipinge alone. The old man then said, the idol is no longer satisfied because you have failed to protect your covenant. You must reset the covenant by sleeping with a madman, just like what your husband did. He slept here with a mad woman who had been brought by her relatives at my shrine. I refused. I said no. I ran and I came to South Africa, but I lied to the Sangoma that it's better that I go back to South Africa and I look for a madman in South Africa. Then I sleep with that madman. When I was on the flight returning back to South Africa, I said, that man is crazy. He wants me to sleep with a madman. I will never do something like that. 2 weeks later, my daughter collapsed, paralyzed, unable to walk. And they said that she had a stroke. And then I took a very long time to return back to Zim. I then went to Zim after about a year. That was when I heard that the Sangoma had passed away. And by the time that he died, he had called his family and he had informed his sons that he did not want them to continue doing money-making ritual consultations with anyone, and he was to inform anyone that would come to their father's shrine that they have now since given their life to Christ. Because when I returned there, they told me that they go to the Seventh-day Adventist Church now and they can't assist me anymore, because that was the instruction that they were given by their father, to look for a Seventh-day Adventist church and to give their life to Christ and to destroy all the things that they were using in their rituals. When they told me this, I sat down. I sat down on the ground, even though it was muddy because it had been raining, and I started crying and I was laughing at myself. And I returned back to the car and I drove to Harare. I stayed there. I even wanted to kill myself in this other hotel. Then I flew back to South Africa. Whilst I was on the flight returning back to South Africa, when I was looking at other people, mostly those that were Zimbabweans, some of them you could see that this person is someone that does not even have money. I even wished to be like one of those people, because they did not even know what was going on in my life. I have since returned back home. My truck is still moving because my child is sick, because this is the new covenant. My daughter is going to stay in a wheelchair for the rest of her life. This is the punishment that I have been given by the tokology that I do have. It said that I'm not going to throw you away. You are like a wife to me, and a husband has to protect his wife. It sleeps with me, and when it happens, it does not happen like physically. I can just have a dream, but when I wake up, I'll see that my thighs will be covered in sperms. So I was also told by the healer that if I fail to please this tokology, madness will come to me. Please help me. If you know any other healer that can speak to this tokology on my behalf, and then it tells me what is it that it wants, so that we can return back to the original covenant, which was easy to follow. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our dear sister. Strange things indeed, they do happen in this world. Let us try to speak with her in the comment section.